the work that they do and how it's really driving their why. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So Anna, I'm going to start with you. So Anna, will you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Anna Montano. I'm a health advocacy leader and a disability awareness instructor who also happens to have cerebral palsy myself.
Awesome. Jason, will you introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, my name is Jason Rodriguez. I work as a family advisor for Vision for Equality and PA Family Network.
Hello, I'm Tammy Koslow, and I'm from the state of Kansas, and I'm also, one of the many jobs that I do is the training coordinator with the Kansas Long-Term Care Ombudsman Office.
And good morning, everybody. My name is Monty Green. I'm the program manager with Elevance Health, which is formerly Anthem. We developed and started an awesome IT apprenticeship program for a population of foster youth, and we'll talk about that a little later. Welcome.
So I gave each one of them some different questions and just said, you never know that what's going to come out of my mouth. So, but I want to start with you, Anna. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you've used Trying the Life course in your own life?
Yeah, so when I graduated high school in 2020, I knew that I wanted to do something more than a work program or a university. So I used Trying my Life course to help me develop my own social media brand on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And then I also use that now as an advocacy portfolio, which helped me become a local advocate in my local community for others with disabilities.
Awesome. So you were using it in high school, now you're using it for your self-advocacy work. Very good. Jason, do you want to tell us a little bit about how you got started and how you're using Life Course in your own life?
Sure. Like I mentioned before, I work for family, PA Family Network. I have a daughter on the spectrum. I also have another daughter with a learning disability. I also have used it on myself for a knee surgery. But I love what I do, and the most of what I do besides Life Course, I'm also a Spanish interpreter. I'm also a pastor. I have a lot of roles, but I love what I do, and I love to help families, and that's what we do.
So I started, when Shelley said 2012, I started thinking, wow, I came in at the very beginning of this. So how I got involved in Charting the Life course was, I'm also a mentor trainer with the learning community for person-centered practices. I was having a conversation with a lady by the name of Amanda George, and she's like, you gotta hear about this framework and this excitement that's going on around Charting the Life course. And so I attended a couple of stakeholders meetings, and I, through my previous work as a case manager supervisor, dragged along Cammie Russell and said, let's attend these stakeholder meetings, find out what this is about. Because it was something that was missing in my work, is I was really, really good at facilitating plans, but I really didn't understand sitting on the other side of that as a family member. And so I started realizing that was what I was missing in my professional life, was being able to give the families and the person that was using services a voice. Since then, it has just evolved. And so when you look at that triangle of individual, I started out on the professional side, and then through the pandemic, my work life changed, and so I pulled out my trajectory and said, what do I want to do now? And I knew I wanted to continue getting to do work that really made a difference in people's lives. And as a result of that, I started working as the person-centered training coordinator for the long-term care ombudsman office in the state of Kansas. And as a result of that, started working with Cami and providing training to staff that are in nursing homes, assisted living facilities, and how to use Starting the Life course tools and framework as a way to help people that live in those homes a voice, because they never had a voice. And it was definitely an area that was lacking of education and training and support. But before that, I've used it professionally, I've used it individually, and now as a family member, because I am supporting my 92-year-old mother-in-law who is aging at home, who is completely blind, has limited mobility, and we're starting to see some dementia progression. And as a result of that, we have had to use the tools, and as Jenny's husband calls it, trajectorizing. I do that to my family consistently, and they have no clue what I'm doing to them. But we use it as a way to figure out how we want, not only we want that good life for my mother-in-law, Darlene, to be able to age at home, but also how we as caregivers, how do we envision our good life as well, so that we still have a life, and trying to find that balance. So it's been an amazing journey getting to use it in all three aspects of that triangle. So thank you.
Well, back in 2018, late 2018, 2019, we at Elevance Health started a program, an IT apprenticeship program with the Department of Labor. And the intent was really to develop something that was going to really try to make a difference in communities that we were serving. And so at that time, I was an outside consulting running my own nonprofit, and the two of us came together. And what we developed was the opportunity for individuals that would, corporate America would probably say would not get opportunities unless they had a four-year degree and a variety of other things to get into that interview door, to really create an opportunity that would give them the opportunity to show up without all those credentials. And that we would, as an organization, help them with that as part of their life trajectory. And so as we were developing the program and putting it together, which by the way is primarily for foster youth, we do serve others as well, but our target was foster youth. As we were in the engagement, it became obvious, in the way I describe it in answering your question, is that it became obvious that we needed something that was going to, imagine you're a parent and you're being introduced to your child for the first time at 21. And so all the years of parenting from the age when they were born to the age of 21, and all the work you've done and all the conversations and all the things you've done with them hadn't happened yet. And now you got to do this at 21. And so for us, for me in particular, because I'm the dad, uncle, big brother, whatever you want to call me that day as we work with our young people, I needed something that could have this conversation, and by the way, remember all the things that I did trying to raise my 5 children, because in 21 years, I don't remember all that stuff. And so what I brought this issue to then our director who runs our foster care unit, her name is Jody Fenner, she introduced me to Jenny. And so we started having this conversation about this, and at that time, we were talking about for foster youth, and so she introduced this tool to us, and I said, when we started looking at the life trajectory and the life domains, immediately for me, it was an opportunity to say, this is something that's going to remind me of all that stuff that I've been using for the last 21 years with my children, that I can be reminded of, that I can now have conversation with my now new children, my virtual children as I call them, and our foster youth apprenticeship program. And so we started using the tool that way and had tremendous results in connecting. Because this was really about people connecting to people, right? That's what we're talking about here. And so in utilizing that, and you have to understand my young adults, we raise them, we teach them and train them to be vocal and speak up and yada, yada, yada. And so they immediately started saying, Mr. Monty, I don't know what you're talking about. What's this language you're using, And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, we don't use that kind of language. And so I went back and we were talking about this, and Jenny came up with this brilliant idea at the time. You know what? Let's bring them in and let them look at this tool and let them tell us what they think about the tool. And so we began this process that really they came in and engaged in this process and literally, I think, took the tool and turned it upside down when it comes to foster youth, and just communicating with individuals that come from a different perspective, whether it's because of their age, of their experience, whatever it is. But a lot of the language at the time, as you talked about simple language, they were like, I don't know what that means, but I tell you, if you said that to me, I'm out the door. And so literally we changed the tool when it comes to those things, the language and how we presented it, when we presented things, and it has made a tremendous difference. And so today, I'm excited to say that we've been running our program since 2019. We currently have 15 individuals that are in our program because this is a 5-year program, and we deal with everything. So when you talk about those life domains, we're dealing with it all. We're dealing with extended family, we're dealing with mental health, we're dealing with child insecurities, we're dealing with, I got 2 kids and I don't even know what I'm doing when it comes to the things they experience. So Mr. Monty, tell me what am I supposed to do? Tell me what doctor am I supposed to go choose? I had, unfortunately, a young lady just a few weeks ago who, for the first time, her young girl was experiencing seizures. She had never seen a seizure before. She said, for me, a seizure was somebody was laying on the floor and they were just moving around, and she wasn't doing that. Her eyes would just roll in the back of her head, so she didn't recognize it at the time. And so when she's talking to doctors about this stuff, it all didn't make sense. And so, of course, what she did is she came back to her family, our family, and started talking in the language, using the tools to talk about these type of experience. And we use it for everything, so that we, at the end of the day, can really learn how to connect to our new family and allow them to feel that they are empowered to communicate to us and let us know what we're doing right and what we're not doing right. And so we've loved the tool. We have loved, working with Jenny and the family, and look to continue to utilize it in those aspects.
That's awesome, thank you. So Anna, when you're thinking about your life trajectory, so you talked about how it sort of changed your trajectory in high school. Other people had other ideas of what they thought you should do after high school, right? So you've been on a different life trajectory. You've been on the life trajectory you wanted to be on. So talk a little bit about how the different parts of the tools or how you're using them in different aspects of your life or your work.
Okay, so I had the honor as the president of St. Louis Region People with an advocacy group led by people with disabilities. And all that crew is having a little bit of trouble right now. So I was able to use the tool to help me and my advisory team decide what to do now. So that's one way I use the tool. And then another way is I am developing an advocacy coalition in the St. Louis area, and I use that tool to help problem solve and identify problems that we can help with in our area.
So you're using them to bring people together and have conversations. So can you, how has it helped those conversations?
I would have to say it really helped people. We don't have many arguments or disagreements, and we are able to keep the meeting on track, because I know that without the use of the tool, our idea with the best of us, and we would be sitting in a meeting 2.5 hours probably we didn't have the tool.
That's great. When we were talking about this interview and what we were going to talk about, you said something that I think is, and I tell a lot of people this, is that the values and the principles are our way of thinking. And you said for you, that's just already the way your brain works. And so it was just a chance for you to be able to organize and write things down. Can you explain that or share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, surprisingly enough, I had never in my life heard of my before. Even when I was graduating high school, I had already planned to do my own directory, but I didn't use any of the tools at the time. I didn't know that they existed. But when it came time for my IFP meeting with an individual service plan meeting, I was able to use the tool and help my case manager know me a little bit more and help him lead the meeting 2 years after I had already been thinking this way.
Very good, very good. So you told us already what you're doing with them now. So how did you first learn about Life Course?
So I first learned about my course from a disability advocate that me and my family helped hire to help us navigate the IFP process and becoming an adult with a disability. And he said, hey, these are some tools that you can use. At the time, I didn't want to look at them because I didn't know what they were. But once I kind of got involved in my people chapter and learned about what they were, I taught them all independently to myself until I became an ambassador, and now I have more banners as well.
Awesome. So you taught them to yourself. So that's very impressive. So that's great. So Jason, I'm going to kind of move over to you.
Personal experiences that you can really connect. I hear the minister, we call those testimonies. But how do you have a testimony, a story you can tell that's going to grab somebody right at the moment because they're having their aha moment from what you just said? And it's this tool giving you the ability from wherever you start. And I think it's absolutely important that you have to start with you, because you have to be able to navigate through the tool, not the forms, not the documents, not the process, but it has to become part of what you do and who you are, to the extent that now all you're doing is telling a story through a process that you have in your head that you now can use to get connected to the individuals or families or groups or systems that you're trying to move forward in some way. Because at the end of the day, I do this work because I love the people that I'm doing the work with. I don't do it for the work. We certainly don't do it for the pay. I do it because I love the people that I'm with. And I want to see them have the same sorts of life that I have. And I don't come from anywhere different from anyone else. I'm that traditional story of that black man in America, but parents who loved me, and a family system who loved me, and a community who loved me, and me loving myself enough that I got connected with all of them so that they could show me all the great values and trajectories and things that I needed to have. But what about all those who don't have all of that, or don't recognize it, or don't see it? What do they do? And so to me, having the opportunities through tools like this, I love Nexus. I love the word, because it is about connection. It is about, we all come various different places in our trajectories of life, but where do we come together and connect? And that's what our job is, all of us in this room, utilizing what we do every day to find those areas that we come from and someone else coming from somewhere else. And we find that nexus, that connection point, that we can come together and have a common experience. And it's in that common experience that we find each other's why. And then I can help you with your why, you can help me with my why, because none of us do this by ourselves at the end of the day, right? And so it's that, to me, that becomes part of the experience, the joy that I see in my young people. I was listening here. I use it in my personal life. I have a sister with multiple sclerosis who no longer can care for herself. I have older parents who've been doing the care for her, who no longer can care for her or themselves. And my wife and I find ourselves now, we are the caregivers. And my wife looked at me one day and says, well, what are you gonna do? And I said, aha. Let me sit down with this tool that I got, and we're gonna work through it ourselves first. And I guarantee you it's gonna give us an opportunity to have a plan for how we can go talk to mom, dad, sister, and anyone else that we engage in. So I just, that's the one.
Awesome, thank you. So Anna, we have a couple more minutes, but I'm going to come back to you. So being a person with lived experience of disability and working with others, how do you think it gives voice to people that maybe don't always have a voice?
So it definitely helps because I feel my provider and service agency will automatically go to the person that is in the meeting with the person, or even out in public at a restaurant or at a shopping mall. And I think by having the tool ready for your service provider, let's say you have an upcoming meeting and you want to make sure that your son or daughter or individual that you care for have a voice in the meeting, but they don't have the capability to vocalize that, or they've been nervous. Having the tool, having a meeting one-on-one with them before the individual goes up to your house or facility is really going to help them not be nervous, because they don't need to be put on the spot with can be absolutely terrifying. I used to hate going to my IEP because there were like 15 to 20 individuals around a table staring at you. So I think like individuals having the tool already filled out can take the anxiety away, making sure that their voice is heard and not muted.
So Jace, I'm going to end the last question with you. So from your perspective, how has it given voices to you or the families that you support?
It has helped them a lot. I mean, there has been ups and downs with some of the families. I had one of the families that were so appreciated. Mom was like, I would have never have ever thought about this if I wouldn't have called, because we give them a 1-877 number for them to call, and then our bosses, what they do is, depending on the need of that family, what they do is they transfer it over to one of the advisors, right, or the ambassadors that are already trained. But there was one where it was very sad, because just starting to do the profile, in that moment he had went to a facility, and mom, she waited like a week after, and then he had went back to his old self again, and sadly, he passed away, and it was around 11 o'clock p.m. where I said to the mom, tomorrow we'll talk about the star and what is the next step for us to go. But he went back to his old ways, and he passed away the next day. So that just broke, Shelly, that destroyed me. It was really hard for me for that whole week. But now the mom calls me back, and she's like, let's finish my profile. I have super rated a lot, through prayers and everything. And I mean, I stayed with my mouth open. She shocked me, and I'm like, go ahead, let's do it. And we started doing it again. So I love what I do.
So, pretty amazing panel, right? Let's give them one more hand. I always tell people that it's just really crazy that just a couple of us sitting around a room together, and getting, like, throughout the next day and a half, I just get chills when I hear stories like this and the impact that it's making. I could have had every single